Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my continuation of Stephen King's Cell book reading. Here we go. Clay, wake up! A hand shaking him. Clay opened his eyes and saw Tom, dressed in a pair of blue jeans and grey work shirt, bending over him. The front porch was lit by strong pale light. Clay glanced at his wristwatch as he swung his feet off the couch and saw it was 20 past 6. You need to see this, Tom said. He looked pale, anxious, and grizzled on both sides of his mustache. The tail of his shirt was untucked on one side and his hair was still standing up in the back. Clay looked at Salem Street, saw a dog with something in his mouth, trotting past a couple of dead cars half a block west, saw nothing else moving. He could smell a faint smoky funk in the air. I suppose it was either Boston or Reserve, maybe both, but at least the wind had died. He turned his gaze to Tom. Not out here, Tom said. He kept his voice low. In the backyard, I saw when I went in the kitchen to make coffee before I remembered coffee's out, at least for a time being. Maybe it's nothing, but man, I don't like this. Is Al still sleeping? Clay was groping under the comforter for his socks. Yes, and that's good. Never mind your socks and shoes. This ain't dinner at the Ritz. Come on. He followed Tom, who was wearing a pair of comfortable looking scuffs, down the hall to the kitchen. A half-finished glass of iced tea was standing on the counter. Tom said, I can't get started without some caffeine in the morning, you know. So I poured myself a glass of that stuff. Help yourself, by the way. It's still nice and cold. And I pushed back the curtain over the sink to take a look out of my garden. No reason, just wanted to touch base with the outside world. And I saw. But look for yourself. Clay peered out through the window over the sink. There was a neat little brick patio behind the house with a gas grill on it. Beyond the patio was Tom's yard, half grass, half garden. At the back was a high board fence with a gate in it. The gate was open. The bolt holding it closed must have been shot during. Must been. Wait, let me reread that. The bolt holding it closed must have been shot across because it's now hung anew, looking to Clay like a broken wrist. It occurred to him that Tom could have made coffee on the gas grill, if not for the main. As not for the man sitting in his garden beside what had to be a normal wheelbarrow, eating the soft inside of a split pumpkin and spitting out the seeds. Jesus Christ. Stephen King, man. He was wearing a mechanical coverall, and a greasy cap with a faded letter B on it. Written in faded red script on the left breast of his overall was George. Clay could hear the soft smooching sound his face made every time he dived into the pumpkin. Fuck, Clay said in a low voice. It's one of them. Yes. And where there's one, there'll be more. Did he break the gate to get in? Of course he did, Tom said. I didn't see him do it, but it was locked when I left yesterday. You can depend on that. I don't have the world's best relationship with Scottoni. Scottoni? The guy who lives on the other side. He has no use for fellas like me, as he told me on several occasions. He paused, then went on in a lower voice. He has been speaking quietly to begin with, and now Clay has no lean towards him to hear him. You know what's crazy? I know that guy. He works at the Sunny Texaco down in the center. It's the only gas station in town that still does repairs, or did. He replaced the radiator hose for me once. Told me about how he and his brother made a trip to Yankee Stadium last year. Saw Kurt Schilling beat the big unit. Seems like a nice enough guy. Now look at him, sitting in my garden, eating a raw pumpkin. What's going on, you guys? Alice asked from behind him. Tom turned around, looking dismayed. You don't want to see this, he said. That won't work, Clay said. He's got to see it. He smiled at Alice, and it wasn't that hard to smile. There was no monogram on the pocket of the pajamas Tom had loaned her. They were blue, just as he imagined, and she looked most dreadfully cute in them, with her feet bare, the pants legs rolled up to her shins, and her hair tousled with sleep. In spite of her nightmares, she looked better rested than Tom. Clay was willing to bet she looked better rested than he did too. It's not a car wreck or anything, he said. It's just a guy eating a pumpkin in Tom's backyard. She stood between them, putting her hands on the lip of the sink and rising up balls of her feet to look out. Her arms brushed Clay. He could feel the sleep warmth still radiating from her skin. She looked for a long time, then turned to Tom. You said they all killed themselves, she said, and Clay couldn't tell if she was accusing or mock scolding. She probably doesn't know herself, he thought. I didn't say for sure, Tom replied. Sounded lame. You sound pretty sure to me. She looked out again, at least. Clay thought she wasn't freaked out. In fact, she thought she looked remarkably composed. If a little... Wow, that's another word I can't read. As a little chaplainesque? Wow, that's definitely a word I've never heard before. Sorry about that. In her slightly outsized pajamas. Guys? What? They said together. Look at the little wheelbarrow that's sitting next to. Look at the wheel. Clay had already seen what she was talking about. The litter of the pumpkin shell, pumpkin meat, and pumpkin seeds. She smashed the pumpkin on the wheel to break it. To break it open and get what's inside. Alice said, I guess he's one of them. Oh, he's one of them, alright, Clay said. George the mechanic was sitting in the garden with his legs apart, allowing Clay to see that since yesterday afternoon, he'd forgotten all his mother had taught him about dropping trowel before you do number one. Did he use the wheel as a tool? Did he use that wheel as a tool? That doesn't seem so crazy to me. One of them was using a knife yesterday, Tom said, and there was another guy jabbing a couple of car aerials. But yes, this seems different somehow. More peaceful, you mean? Tom glanced back at the intruder in his garden. I wouldn't want to go out there and find out. No, not that. I don't mean peacefully. I don't mean exactly. I don't know exactly how to explain it. Clay thought he had an idea of what she was talking about. The aggression they had witnessed yesterday had been blind, forward, rushing thing. And anything that could come to hand thing. Yes. There had been a businessman with a knife and the muscular young guy jabbing the car aerials in the air as he ran. But there had also been the man in the park who torn off the dog's ear with his teeth. Pixelite had also used her teeth. This seems a lot different, and not just because it was about eating instead of killing, but like Alice, Clay couldn't put his finger on just how it was different. Oh God, 2 more, Alice said. Through the open back gate came a woman of about 40 in a dirty grey pantsuit, an elderly man dressed in jogging shorts and a t-shirt with "Grey Power" printed across the front. The woman in the pantsuit had been wearing a green blouse that now hung in tattered, revealing the cups of a pale green bra beneath. The elderly man was limping badly, throwing his elbows out in a kind of buck and wing with each step to keep his balance. His scrawny left leg was caked with dry blood, and that foot was missing its running shoe. The remains of an athletic sock grimed with dirt and blood, flapped from his left ankle. The elderly man's longish white hair hung around his vacant face in a kind of cowl. The woman in the pantsuit was making a repetitive noise that sounded like "Goom, goom" as she surveyed the yard and the garden. She looked at George, the pumpkin eater, as though he were of no account at all, then strode past him toward the remaining cucumbers. Here she knelt, snatching one from its vine and began to munch. The old man in the grey power shirt marched to the edge of the garden and then only stood there a while like a robot that has finally run out of juice. He was wearing tiny gold glasses, reading glasses, Clay thought, that gleamed in early light. He looked to Clay like someone who had once been very smart and was now very stupid. The three people in the kitchen crowded together, staring at the window, hardly breathing. The old man's gaze settled on George, who threw away the piece of the pumpkin shell, examined the rest, and then plouched his face back in and resumed his breakfast. Far from behaving aggressively towards the newcomers, he seemed not to notice them at all. The old man limped forward, bent, and began to tug at the pumpkin the size of a soccer ball. He was less than 3 feet away from George. Clay remembered the pitching battle outside the tea station, held his breath, and waited. He felt Alice grasp his arm as the sleep warmth had departed her hand. "What's he going to do?" she asked in a low voice. Clay only shook his head. The old man tried to bite the pumpkin and only bumped his nose. It should have been funny, but it wasn't. His glasses were knocked off and he punched them back into place. It was a gesture so normal that for a brief moment Clay felt all but positive that he was the only one who was crazy. And with that, I'm going to stop it here for this part of my book reading. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, or thank you much for listening, better. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.